One of the things I talk about in my book is using safety stops. If you're not familiar with safety stops, it's when you're scuba diving. So scuba diving is really, really fun because you're going to the depths. And it's actually what I talk about with just our writing process in general is really about going into a deep dive. It's going into the depths of our writing. And what happens when we are writing about material that might be more tender is that we go so deep, so fast that we can drown or we can lose our air. And so with scuba diving, what they call is these safety stops. So when you go to the bottom or super low and deep in the ocean, you need to take these stops incrementally as you're going up so that it doesn't overwhelm your system. It's like the compression becomes too much in your system and it's fatal. So you want to be really careful about it. And what they do is they take these stops every 10 minutes, something 15 minutes. And same thing with our writing. What I invite us to do is have these pauses in place, especially if you're writing more tender material, to have these safety stops in place as you're writing to check in with yourself and make sure you're not rising too fast. So say you write this really intense scene. Man, it's going to be intense. You write it and all of a sudden you like jump up when you're done and you're like, all right, now it's time for me to go to the grocery store, do whatever you have to do. Can you plan just a moment of pause before that happens if it's possible? Just so that you're not rushing from this intensity to this like levity really quickly, like just to care and have some safety and some moments of gradual ascension from that depth to the surface as you're writing. So just something you can tag that phrase to your computer about having safety stops in your writing, but it can be really, really life-saving. I personally wrote a lot of really tender personal material when I was going through therapy. And I did not have any idea of creating safety stops or any kind of care for myself. It was really this matter of like, how deep can I go? How fast can I go? And I nearly drowned emotionally, totally almost died because I went too far too fast. And it can happen. So please take this care for yourself. And it doesn't even have to be that long, like even 5 minutes, anything, right? Like just something to reset yourself back, to even just contemplate, what did I just do here? What just happened on the page? That was a big deal that I just wrote that. Wow, that was a big scene. So these are just a few examples, things you could consider. When writing something intense, pause to check in with yourself. How do I feel? Do I need a break? This could also be referred to as taking your emotional temperature, just checking your emotional temperature. If you're so into writing, you don't think about doing that. Again, just setting a little like timer, just midway through maybe. And you might be totally fine, but it's just a reminder to check in and see how you're doing. Also, write in layers. This is an option. Start with like broad strokes before you add the emotional depth. So if you have a really big, intense scene that you're going to be writing out and you're feeling so much fear that you're like, I don't know, what can I do with this? Try to write it in a vague way. Just write the broader strokes of it without going into a lot of the deeper, maybe there's really intimate conversations. Maybe there's a very visceral scene that needs to unfold. Just trying to write it in a not quite abbreviated, but somewhat abbreviated, and then you can always show up and start building that out bit by bit instead of all at once if that feels too heavy to do time. And then lastly is to allow yourself to step away, create distance from your writing if it's too close to home. So this is if you're writing like personal material, but say writing in third person, if you're wanting to write like a personal narrative, writing it in that third person voice. And then you can always switch it back to first person. And some folks I would talk to, they don't know if they want to do a memoir or if they want to do it as fiction. And so I invite them to play with it. Try out both. Try switching the point of view to see which one feels most resonant, which one feels most liberating for you, safe for you. You can always play around and change it up later. So something to think about there. So a lot of what I describe in my work in this book is story healing. And what I say here is story healing, if nothing else, creates resilience. And much of that resilience is developed through learning how to dive into the deep water, rise to the surface often to breathe, and take safety stops to allow your body and mind to catch up with the process. So that is the work. Some approachable avenues of trauma-informed story care that are accessible. And these are very simple, and that's what I want them to be. Feel free to pick which one feels most alive to you, but you can also do any of these, but engaging the senses. You just write down your senses, the smell, sight, touch, hearing, taste, and then you begin to engage them in the present. So that's one way to do it. Get some fresh air, take a break, get outside, open the window, breathe. We do this every second, but this is with intentionality. And then orient to your surroundings. That's what we talked about earlier. But it could also be like just locating what's around you. There's a lamp with a beautiful light bulb. Oh, look, baby milk bottles. Just noticing what's around you and being able to place yourself in space. Right from the body. When I say right from the body, few ways to think about that is I imagine many of you write on a computer, just maybe taking a break and writing by hand. This could be, you don't have to write your whole book by hand. You could just be writing notes for yourself. This is a way to process as you're writing and kind of taking that pause before you enter back into the world after you're writing. My friend Danya, who she's written a few really cool novels. Danya Kukofka. What she does, she has a moleskin journal and she has it next to her when she's writing. And before she writes, she starts kind of jotting down what she wants to focus on that day and what she hopes to get done. And then afterwards, she processes what she wrote and how she feels about it and maybe what she wants to focus on the next day. Maybe that's writing a new scene. Maybe it's like, editing, whatever. But I love that idea because it really creates the space to reflect as you're going through it and pause.